Ken Quartuccio, Jason Terrell, and the one and only Travis the Carolina Kid, Harvey, all today on the Wes Buck Show. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. Hope you're doing well out there. Remember, if you get any sort of value out of this, you enjoy being a part of this conversation, click like, click subscribe, join our movement, help us spread the gospel of drag racing. We can't do this alone, and it helps us so very, very, very much. Leave a comment. Let us know where you're checking in from. We've got a banger show for you guys today, but dare I say it, a barn burner. We're just a few days removed from the NHRA Texas Fall Nationals. No Mercy 16, United We Stand. We're headed into Midwest Drag Racing Series Double Down in T-Town this weekend at Tulsa Raceway Park. So much going on in the sport of drag racing. We got a lot of ground to cover, but we're going to enjoy some chats, some little fireside afternoon chats with Ken Quartuccio after an incredible performance at No Mercy 16 down at South Georgia Motorsports Park. Took home not only the event win in Radial versus the World, but also the Radial Outlaw Racing Series Championship for RVW. We'll also be joined by Jason Terrell, who's obviously got a lot going on in his space down at Tin Soldier Race Cars. They have announced a major acquisition that I'm excited to dive into him with a little bit. And then we're going to round out the show. We're going to bring him back. We tried this a few weeks ago. We had some technical difficulties, some internet connection problems, some audio issues, but we're back. We're going to run it back with Travis, the Carolina Kid, Harvey, who went to the final round and looked like an absolute world beater down in Valdosta. So we've got a lot to cover in a short amount of time, and we appreciate you guys joining along. Before we get too much further along, what's going on, guys? What's happening, JT? Mike, what's good in the hood? Anything?
I'm sharing the show.
Sharing the show. Oh,
we got to share.
Solid reminder. Perhaps I should go ahead and do the same. It's harder to share via social, it seems like, now that we are exclusive to YouTube. But shout out to everybody that joined us on YouTube. This has been like might as well talk about it. Like, we've debated this for a long, long time, but as we are making continued efforts to grow our YouTube channel, we have kind of decided to deploy this content in different ways and make sure that the live show every Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time happens right here, only on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel, man.
And, just algorithms from Facebook. I mean, they just won't let us. They won't let anybody have one, will they? Like,
no.
I mean, remember,
for a minute,
that, though, like
for a minute they will, and then they turn it off.
Ain't nobody seeing your shit.
We're probably going to get in trouble for this.
Yeah.
I mean, just this conversation is probably going to get us, something happen. But no, I appreciate it, Clint. You're exactly right. Let's grow this subscriber base. I mean, the thing is, there are so many people, and this is one of the things of the conversation that I've been having with a lot of our clients, a lot of various racers, guys coming down to be a part of the Winter Series this year. There's so much drag racing going on that it is. I mean, I feel like we could hire 100 people and we would still struggle to turn over every stone that is to be turned over in the sport of drag racing. Because, obviously we tend to kind of talk about, the NHRA or the PDRA or the Midwest Drag Racing Series or these big happenings in the sport, Donald Long's events, these big no-time events, our own events down at Bradenton Motorsports Park. But it's that's just literally scratching the surface of all the various things that are happening. And speaking of all the people that care about what we do, let's dive right into this NHRA conversation. We broke news yesterday that the NHRA's Texas Fall Nationals broke the all-time record for serving as the most watched NHRA broadcast in history. 2.065 million viewers on Fox, peaking at 3.63 million. Comparing this to NASCAR on the same weekend, NASCAR drew what 1.71, NHRA 1.87, a narrow margin.
Let's do
Mike,
the round
I
of
admit
applause, JT. Do it.
I was doing air horn.
Air horn. That's good too.
I got to give it up for these guys because, you know, the internet's an interesting place, right? Social media just feels like this bad news or no news. You know, it was great to see it when we made the post yesterday on the Drag Illustrated social channels. This son of a gun went viral.
It's still going. I hadn't even checked
still
it.
going.
I had like 10,000 likes and thousands of shares. But like to your point though, a lot of comments. I've seen a lot of comments in there detracting from the show. Oh, it was too short. It was too quick. They cut off the finals. You know, you can't have everything. And the fact that NHRA drag racing was the most viewed motorsport last weekend, we had an NFL lead in, which obviously helps with that a ton. You got to take it for what it's worth. And the fact that what was the number? Well over 2 million people were watching NHRA drag racing right? Currently at the same time. That's something, and it's the highest number ever. So we always want to talk about the glory days. And I know media has changed dramatically and we're reaching more people now through various avenues, but the most watched NHRA broadcast of all time happened in 2025.
Dude, I was at lunch yesterday. I went to lunch with Cody Sprague, our new social media manager here at Drag Illustrated. Great new addition to the team. And we went to lunch, and it was so interesting because I no more than walked in the door of our favorite local haunt down here in Aledo, Texas. And the GM of the restaurant came over to me and he goes, "Hey man, I watched drag racing on Sunday." I said, "Really? What'd you watch?" He goes, "NHRA. It was all over." And I said, "Yeah, like, did you have the TVs ready for the NFL games?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, we had, whatever, all this NFL stuff on or whatever. You've been watching NFL games." And yeah, it's funny how that works, right? I mean, we borrowed a little bit of their audience, and I don't know that are you going to gain any hardcore fans? Who knows? But simply exposing them to it feels like a huge victory to me. I've said this for years, but I really feel like just seeing NHRA mentioned in the same breath as NASCAR is a huge victory, let alone outperforming them on a glorious fall afternoon in the kind of the heart of race season. I feel like that's a pretty incredible feat for this whole group. I got to give it up to the NHRA on Fox team. I think Brian Loans and the broadcast team have really contribute to getting people to tune in for a minute, but getting a hook in them. You know what I mean? Getting them to stick around and watch what's going on, and to finish the deal with 3.63 million or total audience. I'm assuming that's what that means. I guess it does kind of beg the question, is this, Mike, I'll throw it to you. Like, is this do you see this as a meaningful turning point, or is this just a happenstance situation and we've still got a long way to go?
Maybe, I mean, not like a turning point, but maybe something that is starting, the momentum is turning in the right direction. I think that, we talk about the NFL lead in, but what about NASCAR also? The fact that it was on, why is NASCAR Cup unsponsored? Why NASCAR seems to, it has its hit or misses. It was on USA Network for this event. So them, they're maybe not putting forth their best effort with that broadcast, and then we come in with our best effort broadcast and are able to beat them. So I think that is there's a lot of information to be taken away from that. And I think that the guys at Fox and, we have a good conversation running with Brian Loans and get a lot of information. This is something that they've been working toward and are working hard to continue to improve. And I think we're seeing that pay off, and nothing happens overnight. But we're starting to see ownership. I feel like the current group at NHRA and the Fox team and all the broadcast team really take ownership of this deal. We hear stories about what's the kid's name? Jordan Vance. That's behind the scenes at NHRA TV and directing the broadcast. I mean, we see a lot of people really taking ownership of it, and I think that is truly what we're seeing. We're seeing the fruits of that more than anything.
Yeah. JT, do you feel like this is, maybe this is a great comment, a question not only for you, but a question for the audience here and for everybody that participates in this conversation every week. I can't help but feel like those type of viewerships and seeing drag racing become kind of like part of the pop culture conversation, like when it comes to sports, it entices me to pay more attention to it. Like, I think that's a healthy thing for our sport. Like, if you're just part of the conversation, you feel kind of obligated to keep tabs on it. Like, I myself, admittedly, am no sort of Major League Baseball fan, but here we are in the playoffs. It's on TV seemingly every night, and I feel kind of obligated to make sure that I pay a little bit of attention or ask Mike what's going on so that I can at least sound intelligent in a conversation. Or if somebody asks me, hey, how about those Indians? I don't know. I can't even name the teams that are in the playoffs. But does that make sense, JT, where it's like, does this kind of entice you to say, hey, man, if 2-3 million people are watching it and it's going to be part of the Sunday, viewing experience for sports fans, maybe I should pay a little attention to this.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it earlier today, and I just thought, you got to make it digestible, right? Within a short window. Fox has been doing that, of course, but if you and then it would also help if you weren't going, just directly head to head with the NFL, on some of these broadcasts. NFL is huge anymore, but to make the show, I don't think it's a turning point, but it's great. It's great news though. Regardless, you can come up with all kinds of excuses and not try to give it the credit it deserves, but it's a great show. I think that having the shows where you can digest it is a must. I was thinking of Big Dog. Mike goes to Big Dog a lot. That's a great show. It's in one night. You can digest that show. These events, it's so easy to miss if you're busy and you got 3 kids in sports or anything. It's hard to catch, like say No Mercy. No Mercy was a great show too this weekend. But to sit down for basically 4 days and try to consume all that content, it's impossible. This day.
Yeah, it's like there's 2 different audiences too. Like we've got a couple of comments in here about it was too quick of a show, too condensed. It was 2 hours. They cut off the finals. It was a 15 to 20 million lead in and only 2 million left the TV on. A lot of really positive comments, guys. I don't know what you're doing on a Wednesday watching a drag racing YouTube show. If this is your thing, but the NHRA broadcast isn't, more power to you. But, that there's a lot of different ways to package it. And I think that for it to reach the mainstream audience, that's, to your point, JT, that's the package that we have to present to them. They're not going to watch No Mercy from Tuesday to Sunday.
And I think that's you got your flow racing. You got that for
there are ways to do. And the thing is, to kind of double down on this, it's not either or. Right. Like, I think that's the coolest part about this whole deal is that we have the tool. Like, I don't even watch NHRA on Fox. Like, I wasn't one of those 3.63 million people. I watch NHRA.TV because I want to see every round of everything.
But then we miss some stuff. I feel like we miss some stuff because there's a lot of behind the scenes interviews and a lot of information that we're not getting on NHRA TV. But so you almost, it's wild.
I guess if you're wound up into it pretty tight.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting texts from people as it's happening, congratulations and this and that. And so then it's hard to wait for that broadcast, right? But
I think that it's like different tools serve different purposes. Like you don't use a hammer to drive a screw. I mean, I saw my dad do it on a handful of occasions. But my point is that we've got, for me, I feel like, the hardcore tool, like you want to serve your hardcore audience. You want to, and I go to these drag races so frequently, and I'm always blown away by how many of the same people I see. I know drag racing fans. These aren't team owners. These aren't people that crew on a car or drive a car or whatever. These are fans that go to a dozen NHRA national events a year. I know fans that go to every single PDRA race. I know fans that go to every single Radial Outlaw Racing Series event, whether it's in Steele, Alabama, or frickin' Martin, Michigan, or Valdosta, Georgia. They go to them all. And I think that we are blessed to have those people. But at some point as a community, we're going to have to realize that that should be maybe your base, or maybe that's in a lot of ways. I feel like that should be the icing on top of the sundae. Like the only way we're going to, I know personally, and I labor over this because sometimes I'm like, okay, well, you got to chill. Sunday. But it's like, if we're ever going to achieve what I believe this sport deserves, and that is global audience, millions of eyeballs, I don't think that there's anything more relatable in motorsports than drag racing. Everyone has done it. Pulled up to a stoplight, looked over. Not today. It's easy to understand. It plays to the ever-shortening attention span of society at large. I mean, this thing is made for modern America. And I feel like we're nowhere near where we could be, but that's because we've only had the hardcore tools. We've focused so much of our effort on, the 12 or 14 hour long live streams that, the 3 of us may sit around and watch all day on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if we want to follow along with sick week or follow along with No Mercy, what have you. But the way we get to the masses is, like you were saying, JT, a easy to consume, short, concise show. And sure, some of the hardcores are going to be bummed that they didn't get to see second round of Superstock or whatever. But you're putting the best and brightest, you're putting your best foot forward to the masses. And I don't think we can expect, an abbreviated 2-hour Fox NHRA on Fox broadcast to tick all the boxes that a 12 or 14-hour broadcast could tick. But we have to see it for the tool that it is, and that's to get our sport in front of a mainstream audience that has limited time. You know what I mean? That isn't going to sit around and, subscribe to all these various streaming services or whatever, all the hoops that we jump through as drag racing fans. We can't expect everyone to do that. And I mean, honestly, I experienced that Saturday out at the Texas Motorplex. I mean, what an incredible event. I mean, on the heels of these television viewership numbers, 22%, I believe, up in ticket sales for the Texas Stampede of Speed and the NHRA Fall Nationals. I mean, I think we got to give a round of applause to Billy and Christy Meyer, Eric McClellan, DeMarcus, everybody involved with the Texas
up all year, right? I mean, like
they absolutely crushed it out there, dude.
And I know that there's been a couple sites out there reporting different, and that it's dead and there's nobody in the stands. That's just not true. We see the numbers, and it's not true at all. And to your point, Wes, and the concise show, and you're going to miss some things, and you're going to miss some classes, and you might miss some drivers. But any other sport, I don't care. Watch the Red Zone channel. If there's a blowout going on,
great example.
If there's a blowout going on over here in one game, we're going to follow the best storyline, right? So we're going to follow the games that are close. We're going to follow the matchup of the week that's tied up, division rivalries.
Oh, dude, I was watching Red Zone this Sunday, and what's the guy's name
out of each episode?
What's the guy's name, Mike? The host of Red Zone?
Scott Hansen.
Mike's best friend, Scott Hansen.
Yeah, he was like shout out for his birthday one year, right?
He was spazzing, dude. He at one point he's like, "We're gonna go triple. We're gonna go triple box. We're gonna go triple box. Okay, guys, we're gonna go quad box real quick. We're gonna have 5 screens up here at once because all these games are one score games. But then as soon as the same
shitty games on the schedule when you're looking at them for the noon games looked awful. And they all ended up being barn burners. But
that's a great example that whenever a game finished up or was getting closer, looked like it was getting too far apart, they moved on to the relevant storylines. But I actually had this discussion with somebody the other day that was talking about these various streaming services, like our partners at Flow Racing, Freedom Plus, Motor Mania, Bang Shift, the list goes on. A lot of them have adopted, like a paper, a subscription model. I was joking about, how expensive it is to be like a UFC fan or an NFL fan. I mean, if you want to watch every single game and buy Sunday ticket or buy Red Zone, I mean, you may as well buy tickets to some games. You know what I'm saying? It's that expensive. So I feel like as drag racing fans that we can spend a couple $100 a year and pretty much cover all of our bases is almost unbelievable. I mean, Brett Kepner and I were talking about this the other night. How crazy, we're celebrating 20 years of Drag Illustrated here in October. And I think back to what it was like to try to follow along with far fewer events and how difficult that was in the early days of Drag Illustrated. If you wanted to know what happened somewhere, you pretty much needed to be there, boots on the ground with a notebook, a photo, a camera, trying to capture it all, because you may not, there will be no written record of this. And I think about today when most events have, online results almost immediately. You're able to watch the event unfold live. I mean, we're so lucky as race fans to have all of this available to us that, to be honest, if I compare the life of a drag racing fan to that of any other stick and ball sports, I mean, I think we're in pretty good shape. We just need more of it. And we need the mainstream tools. Yep. We need those smaller, concise, better packaged shows. But I tell you what.
Well, speaking of the mainstream, let's go on to some of the other big news happening in drag racing, mainly NHRA, mainly the biggest name in NHRA, John Force Racing, announcing that Josh Hart is going to be taking over Brittany Force's ride next year, bringing Bernie's sponsorship and jumping into the seat of that ride. What do you guys think about that?
Man, I think it's super interesting, right? And I think that these things there's so much that goes on behind the scenes of our sport that it's, because I know there's more news to come, right? There's more news coming in the coming days that are, relate to the NHRA's Nitro ranks. But I think by all accounts, this is great news. I think there were a lot of us.
It's the start of the silly season. Like this is the first domino.
This is the first domino to fall. I'm excited about it. I think Josh Hart has he had the success that I'm sure he wanted? I mean, I feel like he came out guns blazing, made his debut a couple years ago, wins the Gator Nationals, like his first race out, and he wins. He's got a major league partner in R&L Carriers, the cars branded, the truck and trailers branded. He's got a great team, great crew chiefs. And I think that it's just Top Fuel is so competitive right now. I do think that he's probably excited to relinquish some of the responsibilities of being a team owner and managing all those personalities and managing all that personnel, especially while running his own business away from the racetrack. I think giving him the opportunity to be more of a fly-in driver is going to pay dividends, because we've seen it. I mean, you could see it on the faces of Ron Capps and Antron Brown, drivers that have went from hired gun driver to owner driver, and it's a whole other world. I mean, you're worrying about, we just blew up a body. You're stressing about things that you probably as a driver weren't stressed about. So I think that this could be a fantastic thing for Josh Hart personally, but I think it's fantastic to see John Force Racing kind of establish that just because a Force girl isn't behind the wheel doesn't mean that they are exiting stage left. Well,
a lot of people not happy about that too, but a lot of people have the misconception. I mean, you're saying hired gun driver. He's not a hired gun driver. He's
correct.
That the way it works in today's times, he is bringing that sponsorship, happens to be his own company, but whatever sponsorship he may bring, that's what's getting him that seat. And that's how these team owners have to prioritize who they put in these cars these days. And I think a lot of people, we saw some comments, he must have been, that must have been the only one available or whatever, like John Force Racing was going and just taking the pick of the litter of the best available pure drivers out there. There's a lot more to that discussion, that, the finances of it that are in play versus him just being the best driver. Certainly experienced, talented, and is a good driver. But you've got to have that backing. And that's why so many of these rides tend to move around, and it's really who has the backing behind them that they can then bring to a top tier team with the best equipment to put it all together to run for a championship.
JT, this is something that we've talked about a bunch, right? Like, it is frustrating at times that the most qualified drivers, the most talented guys or gals don't get an opportunity because they're not attached to dollars. And It is tough. I think about guys like Jordan Vandergriff, who have demonstrated that he's clearly good at what he does. He's a marketable young star. He's stayed ingrained in the sport, working for NHRA and Fox. And it does beg the question, what has to happen in our sport to find ourselves in a position where someone like him, because he is talented.
We saw it. It's Sean Reed getting injured. Like, there's these guys that are on the sidelines that are I've already got my package for the year, I've got my deal, and then now I'm injured and I'm going to be out 3 races. That's when you see these. That's how Jack Beckman got his ride. I mean, that's 100%. How all these guys, the real drivers that are sitting on the sideline, unfortunately, come and fill in when the primary driver is unavailable for whatever reason into a prepackaged financed deal already. Like, it's a little bit backward or upside down, but I wouldn't say that it's all that different from how NASCAR is starting to operate. A lot of these guys that you see are bringing sponsors, bringing money to the table, may not be just the best pure badass driver anymore. I think that that happens in NASCAR a lot more than and even the best drivers are having to rotate sponsors. You bring in companies we've never heard of for one race or whatever. It's tough out there, even at the highest level. So
I think if you to ever do that, to where you could have somebody work up, to race, just be from their talent, from a talent pool perspective, I think you'd have to get rid of most of the pro classes, have one pro class. I think that's probably the only way that you would ever accomplish it, is have one pro class, the same car, and that everybody was driving, and then you're basically working your way up until you.
Are you trying to bait me into a pro mod conversation, JT? Because that's what I've been saying. It feels like you just tossed me a softball and said, Wes, nuke this thing. But no, I agree. And that's honestly, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about this online recently. Like, why don't we introduce a variety of classes at the Winter Series? And why don't we bring in a nitrous only class? Or why don't we bring in a turbo only class, or whatever, an outlaw class? And it's because I refuse to complicate or dilute what the pro class is, what our professionals are and where they are. And I don't want anyone to ever wonder what the show is at the Winter Series. It's Pro Mod. And we make that very clear by making sure that all of our talent, because we've got superstar race car drivers stacked like fucking firewood. I mean, we've got so much talent, and I can't even consider spreading them around. You know, I need them all in the ring together. And I tell you what, I don't know who drag race.
And if they want to get in the ring, then get a pro mod. You know, I mean, it's a great, it's a great place where you can get nitro driver, you can get top fuel drivers, funny car drivers, radial drivers, man, and they all come together. They just happen to be like all driving a pro mod. But
it's like the central proving ground.
Talent. We're going to see all this talent right here. They're all going to be in basically the same car. You know, the rules keeps it really close. So, I mean, if there's a place to shine, that would be it.
I agree.
Speaking of superstars and shining at the Winter Series, our first guest fits that bill to a T. But let's pay some bills really quick and then get.
I got two things before we bring on our first guest of the day. One, Drag Racing Mayhem. You dropped some incredible comments in here. Will you send me an email? I'd like to talk to you more. Wes@dragillustrated.com, because he makes a great point here in the comments. It's viewership. The sport doesn't have enough eyeballs as of right now to where winning brings owners money. The exposure doesn't cover the cost, and I think that he makes a great point here, and this is what we've been discussing for what seems like forever. If an owner had an incentive to go out and hire the best guy in the world, they would. And I think that that's a fantastic segue to our first guest of the day, is that it's like the owner of this particular car has a strong racing pedigree of his own. He's driven plenty of fast cars. He's been successful behind the wheel of a race car, but the competition level got high enough, and the eyeballs and the purse money and all the various things, the pomp and circumstances got significant enough that it meant enough to him to say, you know what, I'm going to get out of the car and put behind the wheel of the car a real deal driver that's going to go out and be a difference maker for us and make it less about me getting my personal thrill and adrenaline rush, but I'm going to put the best man for the job behind the wheel of these cars. And I think that as NHRA's viewership grows, our own viewership, I mean, we set records across the board for flowracing.com via the Winter Series this past season in 24-25. And I think that trend will continue this season. And we've got more partners that we're trying to bring to the table to get more eyeballs on what we're doing. And I think as the stakes get higher, what we're talking about, JT, Mike, like this is going to happen organically. And I think honestly, Bradenton may have been the catalyst for that movement.
That's kind of a crazy concept to think about, though. Like what Drag Racing Mayhem is saying, we're basically saying that putting together a sponsorship package or deal to go run the full season and be out there at every event with your hospitality and maybe make the show and be on TV is more important than going out and winning the race, winning the championship, because of the purse money. It doesn't offset what it takes to do that. I think that if you asked all these teams out there in the nitro rinks, especially, what they would prioritize, they're going to prioritize that first thing I said. And that's sort of the state of the top fuel and funny car and to some degree pro stock economy right now, that I think that a lot of people, I don't want to be the Wizard of Oz pulling the curtain back, but that's more true than I think a lot of people realize.
Well, that's 100%. That's what Greg Anderson told us one time on here. You know, like when they took the schedule and shortened it, you know, he said, well, that doesn't really work well for my program, because he wants those extra races. You know, he wants to bring people out. He wants to have his branding and his sponsors branding out there. So yeah, there is two different ways of looking at it.
It is. It's tough. And I think our sport, it serves, the conversation is the ongoing identity crisis that our sport has had for decades now.
It continues. It just looks
continues. You know, it just looks different. But I tell you what, I feel like a new world, a new future is kind of emerging for our sport right now. And despite what some naysayers online might say, I don't think our sport's ever been healthier or happier than it is right now. And with that said, let's bring on our first guest of the day, just a couple of days removed from kicking ass and taking names down at South Georgia Motor Park. Let's give it up for the one and only Ken Quartuccio.
What's up?
What's going on? Congrats, man. Ken Q in the house. Back home, it looks like in the office, right back on the grind. No time off for this guy. Ken, congrats, man. I know it was you had your hands full, not only in the final round, but throughout the weekend. I talked to Scott Tidwell, your team owner. He was sharing me some battles that you guys were fighting throughout the course of the weekend. You know, take us through it, man. I mean, looking back a couple of days removed, like I said, from a series, your second championship in 2025, you got to be living high on the hog at this moment.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'll be honest with you, me and my girls, for the last month, we looked at every scenario that we could lose this championship. So we were counting numbers, scenarios. I never took into consideration that Travis Swanstrom, the guy that drives the Lewis's old screw car there, and I was just focusing on Ned and Chris Daniels. But then when they showed up, that just threw everything. We spiraled out of control from there. But those guys are hard to beat, and we just kind of. I relied on Steve Petty. I'll be honest with you. I was worried, and I'm counting different scenarios in my head. And should we try to go number one, or how we should race it? And Steve just was like, "Listen, Daddy-O, this is what we're gonna do, and just relax." And it worked out. And I'll be honest with you, at the end of the day, that win was 100% Steve, because I missed it on the tree. I personally thought Travis was hurt worse than he was. I kind of made that decision in the final to just maybe not try to push the tree as hard, because like I said, I thought he was broke, and then he pulled a fast number out and a good light on the tree. But Steve said, he had a plan, and when Petty tells you he's got a plan, the man's got a plan.
You've raced with Steve for a while now, and I'm just curious, I can't imagine what it's like to look out and see Steve Petty. I mean, he's a guy that most all of us hold up on the Mount Rushmore of race car tuners. And to have someone like that look at you and go, "Hey, we got this. I got some more in it." I mean, I can't imagine what the confidence that's got to give you, that you could even think to yourself that, and them damn screwblower cars are so loud. I'm not surprised you couldn't hear anything. I staged next to one time in my slow ass car, and I was scared to death when he put that thing on the deck. So I can't imagine what you do, or how you do what you do. But what was that like? You decided to kind of maybe not push it, don't want to go red if he's going to break over there. But I mean, were you confident that if 340 something was going to come on the board? I'm sure you were.
Maybe not. So because Steve had a plan, and I've been lucky. You think about it, in the last 10, well, probably 20 years, call it, I worked with Jamie Miller for years, and him and I had a relationship that was great. And it was a certain way that I could read his body language. He could read mine. On NHRA side, I work with Brandon Stroud. Him and me, same thing. We have a little bit of body language. And then there's Steve Petty, and he's a lot of body language and a lot of how he carries himself. And so I'm learning that. And, but I got to tell you, I've been more successful in the last couple of years with Steve, because I think him and I have a good fit together. I'll be honest with you, before the race, before that last round, Travis and them guys were working on the car. And it's a funny story, because I kept going over there and I'm like, "Hey, if you want to wait till tomorrow, we can run around noontime if you want." Because I wanted Travis during the day, because I felt that there really isn't a car that can run with our red car during the day, just on radials. And Tommy Yeomans is, no, let's just get it over with tonight. Let's just do it tonight. I'm like, "But if you want to do it tomorrow, I'm fine with it." No, we're going to do it tonight. Because they knew their best shot at me was going to be at night. Steve was just working on the laptop. He doesn't say, and I've learned, with Jamie and even Brandon, I could go in there and just look over their shoulder and bother them. Well, with Steve, you don't do that, because he'll throw you right out of there. Like he wants to do his thing, and he doesn't want to explain it to a snot-nosed kid what he's doing. So it's funny, our dynamic. So I'm like, one of our crew guys, Chris Terry, I'm like, "Chris, go see what he's doing, but be really nice about it. Just be nice." We went up there, and like I said, I thought their car was hurt pretty good. They ran, the rules are close, and they have to run their stuff hard. So when we went to fire the engines, I waited about 30, 40 seconds, because I wanted Travis to start first, because I figured if he was hurt. Well, he didn't start, so I started. Then I went and did my burnout, and I looked over to the left, and I never saw him. I never saw smoke over there. So at this point, I'm thinking, "Oh, these guys are hurt. They're going to go up there." And then when we went to light the bulbs, he lit his 2 bulbs pretty quick. So I'm like, he's just idling this thing at least as he has to. So I'm like, don't red light. Well, as a driver, and you guys know, you never tell yourself what you don't want to do. So, of course, I went up there and I'm pushing as hard as I can on the button not to red light. And that cost me. But thank God, Steve, with a plan, he had a 340 up his sleeve and he saved it to then, because realistically, during the day, we didn't have to go 340s. He wanted to keep lane choice. So Steve just basically was giving us just enough to be low of every round, but just we were in that 54, 55 range. And that's all it took every round to be low of the round and to kind of keep the lane choice, because Steve wanted that right lane all day. And that's all he cared about.
Is there like one thing you were talking about 20 years of working with Jamie Miller, Brandon Stroud, Steve Petty, and the various teams that you've had, the various cars you've had? I mean, is there like one thing that you've learned over all those years that you considering the success you've had in 2025 alone, the inaugural Drag Illustrated Winter Series World Championship of the most competitive collection of cars that I believe has ever existed in drag racing. Now the Radial Outlaw Racing Series RVW Championship. Like, is there one thing that took you forever to maybe learn, but maybe seems obvious now, but took you forever to learn?
As far as working with the different tuners,
or just as a driver?
I mean, and really you're a big game hunter at this point. Like all these big events, you always show out. So like, what is it, maybe even just at those events, like your mentality going into those that you've learned over all this time?
Well, here's the thing is I like the outlaw stuff. Honestly, I'm struggling a little bit with the NHRA side of it, and it's nothing to do with the 8 mile or the quarter mile. Just the structure of NHRA's racing, I haven't done as good as I had hoped to do. And it's not Scott, it's not Brandon. It's a lot of it's me.
Scott, think. You can just blame it on Scott. That's fine. He'll take it.
I think a lot of that's me, but there's something about outlaw racing and the 5-round racing, the long weekend racing. I think me and my family, we've been doing it so long that these longer races, like the Florida stuff and being there all weekend, I've learned to pace myself, because if you go in there, and we got there Wednesday morning and, I didn't get the earliest flight and I kind of poked around all day. And then Thursday, Friday, I didn't really get there early. And I just I try to keep my balance mindset. And I think what happens is in these 5-round races, if you peak too early during the eliminations, you'll screw yourself. So I've kind of at the point where the longer the race goes on, I think I do better. And I think that's kind of the one thing I do. But I also, like Travis, I don't go up there to try to kill the tree every time. And that was one thing that somebody told me years ago that I should be doing, is in qualifying and practice and in everything. You got to kill the tree every time. And I don't do that. I don't believe in that. I kind of race each person a little bit differently. That's kind of why I was a little disappointed in myself when I beat Travis, but he beat me on the trees, because people like him, Jason Harris, Ty Tutterow, those guys you race differently than, say, somebody else, and that's kind of, it's crazy because I won the race. It was my wife's birthday that night. And everything was perfect. And I'm sitting there like beating myself up because I kind of screwed myself there. But
do you think, like, I think that there are times when it's like, there are times you're going to narrow the gap and there are times that you need the car to narrow the gap. And that's like the great story of why drag racing's so cool, in my opinion, is because you can make the difference, but so can the car sometimes, and you need everybody to kind of carry their weight when it's time to carry their weight. Is there,
I think that's interesting that before we transition off of that, like pacing yourself, that's like an interesting concept, because the Radial race starts on Wednesday, right? They start with testing and it's going all the way to Saturday or Sunday. Our events, you start testing on Monday or Tuesday. We're going all the way to Saturday or Sunday, and there's 3 of them. And by pacing yourself, I mean, that's how you end up with these championships. That's how you end up with the Winter Series Championship, the Radial Championship. And that's like, it reminds me also of NBA players. Like all NBA games are at night for the most part, and they're late. Like NBA players sleep until like 3 p.m. so that they're up and they're peaking at night whenever they're playing. And these Radial races, most of the times, are like midnight, right? So you don't want to get tired. It's really about adjusting your entire routine, your travel schedule, everything, adapting it around what you're trying to do, which is honestly something I hadn't even thought of.
And how about the honesty, Ken? And I appreciate this because we hear so frequently. We've interviewed thousands and thousands of race car drivers over the years. And I think how many times I've heard, I treat them all the same. It doesn't matter who's in the other lane. And I think it's awesome that you're here saying the opposite of that, saying, no, I'm going up there playing the game. I'm going up there strategically, knowing who's in the other lane, knowing what's going to be required to beat this guy or that guy. Because I don't think that's something that gets talked about near enough. And honestly, as we're discussing this, I'm going, I equate that perhaps, I maybe blanket that on your success is being willing to accept that there is gamesmanship to this and there has to be a strategic approach to this, because I think you can get yourself in trouble. If you're going to go up there and treat everybody like they're Ty Tutterow, you probably massively increase your chances of going red or making a bonehead move in a situation where you shouldn't have. I mean, we've reported on those moments where somebody's got the car to beat, but they go red in the E1 because they were trying too hard, right? I mean, and so I think that that's actually an interesting perspective that we love to hear at Drag Illustrated.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like I feel as though like I try to be a student of driving. So like I want to be the best race car driver that I can be on each time that I'm up there. That doesn't mean you have to be 03 on a light every time. But I take it, like I really take it to heart to do a good job, because I know that like Franny and Dennis and CT, these guys that work on the cars, they work as hard as they can. So I want to do as good as I can. And even as an example of like a couple examples, but like in the radial racing, maybe the competition isn't as good as what people like, oh, it's easier. But they don't realize most racers lose the round and don't get beat. So by that I'm saying is, the 5-round races or, maybe if you get a couple buys, or you could beat yourself much easier than the competition can beat you. So you got to not make mistakes. You have to have a routine. You have to be really good with it. And so it's like your races are a little different because your races are 5 rounds of hell. Like you could draw Melly Salemi first round. So there's no gimmies over there. But with the radial stuff, you have to kind of pace yourself a little bit. And,
do you think that because it's interesting that you mentioned like the 5-round races and the outlaw events, because I wonder if you're not the type of guy who is accustomed to being the marquee attraction, Ken. I mean, I oftentimes go to those NHRA races and I go to those NHRA races and I get a little pissy because I'm like, why aren't they running Pro Mod last? They should be running Pro Mod last, and I'm just a super fan of Pro Mod and I'm playing. I say this in jest, but I do think that NHRA environment where you're just a cog in the wheel, like there's so much stuff going on. There's 50 different classes. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of racers. It's like hard to even get up for the moment. You know what I mean? Because they're like spread out and as scheduled as they may be, it doesn't kind of create that crescendo type of effect that you see on Saturday at the World Series or Sunday at the Snowbirds or US Streets, where it's built up through the day and all eyes are on this, because we've said it before that you seem to thrive in that type of environment.
Well, and I'm going to say something. It might come off unpopular. I don't like NHRA racing for a Pro Mod driver. And I'm sorry to everybody who's going to be mad about that. I'm at this point in my life, I want to be in the big show. I don't like racing during the day. I like racing at night. I like racing in front of people that love Pro Mods. For the guys that run, and NHRA is super hard. I will tell you, quarter-mile racing is hard. The rules are hard. That's great. What I don't like is when we roll in the water box and we're sitting there to go and the stands are emptying out like there's a bomb scare. Because as soon as Top Fuel and Funny Car goes, nobody cares. That part I have trouble with. For the guys that do it and that's their thing, they want to be on the shit TV. They want to, they want that whole NHRA experience. God bless them. I love quarter-mile racing because I believe that's like the final frontier. But I'm an old school outlaw guy and I want to race at night. I want to race in front of people that love Pro Mods. And RBW is basically a Pro Mod. So
it's very similar.
Ducks,
yeah,
it's similar, but like Ducks, the stands were packed. Everybody there was excited. I signed more autographs and gave away more stuff at a Duck race or a Winter Series race than NHRA, because NHRA, we're just cars there to them. If you're not nitro, nobody cares. And sorry,
it's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, I'm glad you said it.
I mean, I'm glad you said it too. And I think that these are the conversations that are like constructive, because I can't fault NHRA, because I got to be honest with you. If we were down in Bradenton and I had 30 Top Fuel and funny cars and 90, I know what.
Well, we've done that. We've done it.
We did it. You know what I mean? And
we saw the impact it has, for sure. You can't take it away, but it's two different segments of the fan base. To your point, Ken.
I really think that there are room for both to thrive.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But I think that we are sometimes like, I go to a pro mod race and I see where my pro mod guys, and I always say my guys because that's just how I see you guys. You know, like it's just my children, so to speak. But
Ken
I look
is
and I go,
adopted at this point.
Yeah, Ken's
we
adopted.
See Ken at any other race, I'm like, what are you doing over there?
Dude, whenever I see him in public,
guy.
I hold his hand and make sure that he's okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
A little guy.
I grab him like, hey man, anybody bothering you? No, but it's like, I really do. I get mad when I go to the events and I see us, you know, parked out in the grass or parked in the gravel somewhere 10 miles from the starting line. And then I wonder like, well, it's no wonder you guys, you know, need help here, you know, because this isn't the experience these guys deserve. And we've actually really reflected a lot personally over reducing the amount of drivers that we invite to the winter series, specifically because I know that I can't give the kind of personal attention and world-class experience that I want to provide to hundreds of people.
But that's already out of the window. We haven't even started the invite process yet. We're already like,
holy shit.
People I talk to, I've talked to, 300 people that say they're getting an invite.
Right. Yeah. Everyone's already
and here we are.
I
didn't get mine, but they got theirs.
I see people posted headed to the winter series.
Yeah. If I spin my monitor for you guys to see my whiteboard, your heads would explode, because it's like, all these names, and it's like, okay, we've got all these people that are like part of our fraternity that have been a part of what we've done since the beginning.
It's so hard.
But you want to introduce new, fresh faces, but at the same time,
we've only officially invited one person though so far. That's Joey Martin. I think we can make it. Let's make it 2 right here. The most obvious invite.
Our
in
reigning
history
champion is automatically invited to come defend his honor. But would you accept it here, right in front of God and the World Wide Web?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it, brother. It was a foregone conclusion, but no, I mean, it's an amazing
Mike's
thing.
getting my car ready right now, actually.
Oh, it's ready.
Oh, dude, I just saw it. And I just saw some secret squirrel photos of it.
Yeah, you're gonna have people flipped on their head with that one, Ken. They're not ready for that.
They're not ready, but thank God for it. It's something that photographs well, but nonetheless, so I'm telling you, man.
I love the black. I did love the black, but nobody took pictures of it.
It's hard, man. They're hard to keep clean.
Secrets, Ken.
They're hard to keep clean.
Yeah.
Hard to photograph. I mean, it's just tough, especially if a flat black race car on what is like essentially a flat black surface is just like, this is rough. It was mean looking though. It's mean looking. I think it's mean looking now though, but no one wants to pull up. Besides, I was thinking about our show today. I was like, between Ken and Travis, those are probably the 2 guys that you would least like to pull up alongside of in a door car right now. Would be Travis Harvey and Ken Q, and we got him on the show today. So, yeah,
Travis is. I'm going to tell you, I love that guy, and he's so humble, and he's a great kid, and I enjoy racing him, and honestly, like I said down there, is I have a small list of people that I really pay attention to, just because I don't have the brain power to do it, but the guys that I watch, and he's one of them, and I consider him in a handful of the best guys right now.
There's no doubt.
There's no doubt.
But also personality wise, not just driving wise, just he's a good kid. He's good for the sport, and he's a badass racer. So, I mean, how he doesn't have a full ride anywhere he wants. And if he wanted NHRA or whatever, but I think he's probably like me. He probably just doesn't want it, but I don't know. I think everybody should try it.
We'll ask him. We're going to have him on here in about an hour, right? So 30 minutes maybe.
I'm sure Scott would put him in an NHRA car, just so you know. I'm pretty sure.
All right. We'll float that out. You better check that. Better check with Scott before we start opening his wallet there.
Oh, dude, I tell you what, I've pitched Scott on about a half dozen different drivers, because I'm like, hey man, if you've got another car, I got a guy, I know a dude, you know what I mean, that I need in a pro mod car. And no, it's I just think you make some really great points, Ken, and I appreciate it, because we're big believers in what the I mean, I know that like Justin Elks, I mean, not everybody knows this, but like I was a big part of that for a long time alongside Danny Rowe and Steve Matusik and Troy Coughlin Jr. Troy Coughlin before them, and Roger Burgess and Dave Wood and all the various people that have supported that program. And I'm stoked to see it have stood the test of time. But when I think about Pro Modified and when I think about that collection of cars they have, the Belushis, the Justin Bonds, the Mike Stravinos, like the JR Grays, I'm going, I understand the allure of competing for a Wally. I understand the allure of being a part of the NHRA fraternity, so to speak. But I'm telling you, these guys deserve to be, yourself included, the show. These guys deserve these cars, these people, these teams, the commitment's there, the show is there. I think it's the best. If drag racing has a best foot to put forward, it's Pro Mod. And I'm proud that we have chosen this class to I believe carry our sport into the future. And I really think we're just getting started. Because, I mean, these things are coming out of the woodwork. There's still cars that look like cars driven by cowboys and cowgirls that are, driving them like they stole them every weekend. It's they're ill handling and exciting to watch. I mean, I just feel like they tick every imaginable box from a fan's perspective.
Oh, yeah. And that market is perfect for Justin and all those guys in Modern and the Belushis and all them. That's their perfect market for them. And even Scott loves it. I pretty much told them that I'm not coming back next year for that, but there's a lot of great talent over there and a lot of people want to come over there and race. And I think that's great. For me, it might not be the place for me.
No, I think it's really interesting.
Are we starting to put some tea leaves together here? So you're talking about not coming back. You're saying Scott might be in a car. Yeah. NHRA.
No, I don't know. I'm just me. My mouth doesn't stop. And my wife
have you on here long enough. We're gonna have everything.
Collar. Yeah,
she's standing off the camera, going, "No."
Yeah.
Yes. No. That's good to talk about. No. Don't talk about that.
The last thing before we let you go, Ken, and I appreciate your candor as always. You're a fantastic interview. We love this every single time we get the chance. But the success you've had in 2025, I know that this is none new. I mean, you were our Outlaw Racer of the Year just a few short years ago, like on the heels of another incredible season. But like doing all this, and I see in the winner's circle with your wife and your daughters, and them everywhere I've seen you this summer, you've got your whole family there. You guys do everything together. I remember in Kansas City, like I think I got the biggest reaction out of your wife whenever I was handing you that championship ring. Oh, yeah. And she hugged me, and I just, is it surreal how your family has gelled around something as wild and crazy as drag racing?
It's incredible. And it's funny. And my wife, I'm lucky because she's my best friend and she is 100% supportive. So that part is great. And I have two sons that basically they are like, Dad, go race and we'll take care of the company and we'll look at the house and all the stuff around it. And then my girls are able to be with me. And it doesn't get any better than that because, my girls are both there. They're working in the industry. My youngest daughter works for Congruity Pro Mod. My older daughter works for Ford and all that. And, so they're with me, but they're involved in the sport. It doesn't get any better. And I talk about retiring all the time, but the problem is everybody at the racetrack is my family. They're my best friends. They're I go to the track and see other teams and other people. And those are, they're your whole network is at the track.
It's so true, man. It's so true. Well, dude, we couldn't be more happy for you, nor more proud of you as our ambassador, our champion of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. And we can't wait to see you in, 60 days. We'll be down in Bradenton, Florida for race 1 of the DI Winter Series. Of course, the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals. Ken, you headed to Vegas. We got a week off, right? Yep. You got a full week off. That's got to be nice. Head to Vegas, close out the NHRA season, and then will it be full bore towards Winter Series?
Yeah. We're going to go to Vegas. I probably would have skipped it, but I'm going to go help my teammate whatever I can so that Derek Menhold can win us the 3rd championship for Scott Tidwell. I'm going to put all my effort into that. And then we're debating whether to go to Orlando for the World Street Final. And then it's nothing but Winter Series.
I can't wait, man. Well, hey, be safe out in Vegas. Don't have too much fun. Mike, maybe we should go back.
Oh, you should come. Yeah, any excuse is a good excuse. Well, we just got back from Vegas, but we'll go back.
Hey, man, maybe we can get our Power Slap and UFC guys to come out to the race with. We'll see. We'll see, man. We're working on some exciting stuff. But hey, Ken, thanks a bunch, dude. Best of luck, and I'll see you soon, brother.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Quartuccio.
Yep. Thanks,
Radial Outlaw Racing Series, RVW World Champion, Drag Illustrated Winter Series Champion.
Just overall badass.
overall badass, man. Speaking of badasses, let me take a quick second and pay some bills. I want to remind you guys that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from seatbelts and drag chutes to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell them we sent you. I tell you, I was up in Oklahoma City a few weeks ago, and I just my heart grows every time I walk through the doors of Stroud Safety, because it's like, this is what it's supposed to look like. A bunch of men and women working with their hands, creating things, passionate about keeping racers safe, taking pride in their work, American-made products. Like, in this whole world of tariffs and all this stuff and all this drama around imports and exports and all this, it's amazing to think that something that is such a big part of our sport, seatbelts and parachutes, I mean, there's hardly a race car that, I mean, every one of them has 5-point harness in them for the most part, at least a lap belt. And to know that those things are being made right here in the good old US of A is it's a pretty proud thing for all of us. So remember to support those who support us. Log on to StroudSafety.com, get yourself some fresh gear. Guys, we've got a banger in the green room right now. One of my all-time favorite people to talk to, someone who I've known of Jason for a long time, but I have not known him personally until recently. And to see the work that he's doing and the footprint that he has created here in the sport of drag racing is absolutely incredible. He's got some big news to share. We broke it on the website this morning. Let's give it up for Tin Soldier Race Cars' own Jason Terrell.
What's up, guys?
What's up, boss?
No hat. I don't think I've ever seen this guy without a hat. This is the first. We're breaking this.
This is a first.
The West.
I did get a
Show
haircut
today.
recently, so yeah.
Oh, showing it off. So you're good to go.
Yeah, freshened up, man. Well, hey, take us through this. As we reported on dragillustrated.com just this morning, you broke this news on Facebook earlier in the week across social media. Tin Soldiers acquires Racecraft. This is an iconic brand, especially for the small tire drag racing contingent, especially Ford Mustang guys. I mean, that was like every badass Mustang that you'd see at a racetrack more than likely came out of that Racecraft shop in Minnesota. So take us through this huge announcement, how this thing came to be, and where you see this deal headed. I mean, this has got to be, you're 10 years into business and acquiring iconic brands. This has got to be kind of surreal.
Yeah, I really I'm sitting in my friend Corey. Well, he's now my friend. Corey is Racecraft's owned by the Fashionette family. Pat is the old man. He's not near as grumpy as I thought he was. Now we've bonded. You give him a couple bush lights and Pat's good. And then Corey is his oldest son. Me and Corey are the same age. Dude, Corey's incredible. It's just an honor to sit in his desk. He's letting me use his office right now. They are not the social media type at all. They just work. They put out badass products and they let the products speak for themselves. And they've done that for many, many, many years. When we started Tin Soldier, we wanted to be like Racecraft. So to be able to sit in this chair, wear this hoodie, be surrounded by these iconic people, and clear out their shop. And then, like, obviously there's a financial transaction, but so many people harp on that. This is not a financial transaction. This is a continuation of their legacy, and they chose to continue that legacy with us. It was a competitive market. There was many people that wanted this place because it's awesome, and they chose us. So our plan is to not let them down. But it started with an email, and Wes, you know me a little bit now. I'm probably the first one to jump off cliffs that I don't know where I'm going, but I'm like, that feels right. Let's do it. So they sent an email to all their dealers to let them know that they were wanting to sell the business. They have a very, very successful, booming industrial weld shop that is across the street from this building, and employs almost 100 people. So they do a lot. And then they're running Racecraft on top of that, which is incredible. So they were just ready to be, something needed to go, right? It wasn't because the place wasn't successful. It wasn't because they didn't have work. It wasn't any of those things. It was just their plate was over full and they needed something to go. And Racecraft was the most logical thing. So they sent that email. I sat on it for a couple days. And Brad and I had talked about it, and we're like, man, I don't know. So I'm like, hey, I walked in one morning. I'm like, I sent them an email. I want to know what this cost. I want to know if we can do it. He's like, you're crazy. No, like, this isn't going to work. And we started talking back and forth and kind of started figuring some things out, figured out the financing side of it, figured out all the logistical side, and really hit the go button. We had to come out and meet with Pat and Corey and Karen and their other son Dave, and then all their other incredible employees. And we were getting interviewed. Ken and Pat is so unique, man. He literally doesn't know what's happening outside of their little world. He doesn't really follow racing anymore. He really didn't he just wasn't up on stuff. But after all the dust settled, Pat has a really funny, dry sense of humor. He called me to tell us that we were the ones, right? So he starts the phone call off of like, hey, these other people, they had way better questions than you and Brad. They stayed longer with us. They, like all the things we could have improved on. And he's like, you know what, boys, you're number one. We're selling it to you,
Hey, man, I tell you what, it says a lot, right? Because I tell you what, I think why matters a lot, right? Like one of my favorite books, Simon Sinek, Start with Why. And I think that's the why matters a lot. And I can imagine seeing you in that setting and your why being plain as day, why I want to do this. And I think it's like all the right reasons.
It's great to see it go to another company in the industry or entrepreneur. I mean, we've seen Doug Cook talk about this a lot with companies not being sold to private equity or rolled up in these big conglomerates. We went through a phase of that, in the last decade or so. And I think we're seeing that unravel now. So this kind of follows to me along that same path, which is good for the industry.
Yeah. Humbled, man. I mean, this morning, well, the one funny thing is before Brad and I flew out here, like very unexpectedly, like we were waiting on some numbers and some stuff. They kind of had everything ready for us and we jumped on a plane the next day. We're like, we're serious. We're coming now. Right. And at the end of our deal, Pat has a drag and drive scat that he is working on it's unreal. I mean, he said he stopped counting hours at 5,300. It is, boys, it's the most beautiful car I've ever seen. I mean, it is, and I'm not just saying that, like everything is so unreal. So before we left, we had to look at it, right? And really get like the bones of it. And Pat asked us, what color should I paint this thing? And he had a color swatch that he had painted, and we talked through that. And then we had to go, like we had plane in early and then out late, had to make it back to the airport. So last night we were all hanging out and Pat loves Busch Light. So we were having some Busch Lights with Pat. Yeah. He's the best. I mean, I'm thinking about taking him back to Kentucky with me. And, I was like, hey, Pat, the other people that came out here and looked at your business, did you ask them what color they should paint? You should paint your car? And he's like, nah. I knew it. We were in.
Victory. Victory, man. You didn't tell him like tan and brown, did you? Like, we got to get that Charlie Brown look going.
Hey, man, I was so disappointed last night at dinner. I wasn't disappointed, but he didn't know what Charlie Brown was. He didn't know that we owned a 4-door.
I was going to say.
And, so we got to talk about the war stories of Charlie and how like not nice of a car it is. And,
So Racecraft is in Minnesota, right?
Yeah. Minnesota.
And so everything's going to relocate to your neck of the woods, or like, what's the plan with the logistics there?
That's what we're working on right now. As part of not being a private equity, we have pushed all of our chips that we didn't have into the center of the table. So not a lot of resources left to move this thing. So I got Tommy Hoskinson up here, one of my good friends. He's a YouTuber. So, if you need, free labor and someone that doesn't have a tight schedule, we're trading, we're going to build him a 9-inch, you know what I mean? So we've did some, and, which has really helped with the media stuff. We were able to get YouTube videos out, stuff like that, because I do all of our YouTube now. So I haven't had time the last couple of weeks to make a video because we're trying to buy a company. So Tommy's been helping with that. My dude Happy's up here. He's helping us, and then of course Brad and I, and then Tommy's girlfriend Allison, she's a huge help too, and then plus the Racecraft employees. But we're trying to move everything back to Kentucky. because they're going to repurpose this facility for their industrial work. Their employees will all transition back. Some of them started in the industrial deal and then moved over here. So all their employees are going to be taken care of. That's been a really common question. They are going to help us for a couple months. So they have a lead fabricator. His name's Rich. Rich is phenomenal. If you remember the car that they built for Fletcher Cox, Rich, he didn't build the whole thing, but obviously he was a big part of that car. We're probably going to borrow Rich for a month or two. He said he's, willing to come down and us put him in Airbnb or him sleep in the shop, whatever. He's just totally on board to make it work.
That's
so
amazing.
it's awesome, man. And the amount of it is, you guys wouldn't, even people that are in the industry. I've been to a lot of different chassis shops. This is obviously what we do. People can't even imagine how much stuff these guys have. Pat literally liked designing parts and making them because that's what he wanted to do. He's got stuff that he didn't even have he wasn't even going to sell it. He just, it's like, I think this is a great idea. So I'm going to make it because it makes me happy. And that's what he did, man. So this whole place is full of a lot of projects that are parts that, man, they never really brought to market, or they didn't market super well. People didn't know that they had them. So it's a huge opportunity for us to take these parts and, relaunch them. Right. But this is an elephant and we're going to have to eat it one bite at a time. So that's kind of the logistical part of it. We're working with a local transport company. We kind of figured that out once we got up here. The
Tommy
way up
in the U-Haul was hilarious. I don't know if anybody's watching hasn't seen it. Go to Tommy's Facebook page. He posted a video of him white knuckling this U-Haul box van up down the highway. Hilarious. Yeah, you're probably going to need all hands on deck to get that stuff to Kentucky, man. It's crazy. What do you make of one of the things you just talked about being in a lot of chassis shops? And I watched a video you did, and I almost wrote a story about it, and I may yet still, but you put out a video on your Facebook or on your YouTube channel, the Tin Soldiers channel, about like the conscious decision to not build race cars for the masses anymore. And it's kind of interesting because when I think of racecraft, I felt like they were really ahead of the curve when it came to saying, hey, we ain't trying to build start to finish race cars. We're going to focus our effort on building incredible parts and pieces that you can use, or your chassis builder of choice can use, and, obviously there was plenty of cars that came out of that shop. I remember one of the first ones I ever saw was Disco Dan Shonick's orange 26 10.5 car that he was running in NMRA. That thing was absolutely bad to the bone and amongst one of the nicest cars I'd ever seen. But it seems like they were kind of a lot of chassis shops go from building cars as their full-time gig, and then they start to dabble into parts and pieces. You think about Jerry Bickle, you think about Tim McCamus, you think about Quartermax. Like, it was Rick Jones, RJ Race Cars, and then it became Quartermax, right? And they started to dive into the parts sales space. Can you kind of give us some context to that video? Because I think sometimes about the nightmare that it has to be to build a car from start to finish in this day and age, especially.
Yeah, it's like I said in there, it's a very intimate process. And a lot of people, especially in the cars that we build or that we like to build, they're not a cookie cutter car. Nothing against Bickle or Haas or something like that, but like they are building the same car over and over again. So you have to have, and I get that it has differences. The motor placement's a little different, stuff like that. If it's a nitrous car, blower car, whatever, but the basic chassis layout is the same. So. And you can have stations, right? You got a couple guys doing this, and for people to be good at something, they have to do the same thing over and over and over again. Well, when you're talking about building an X275 car or an LDR car, or something that has a lot of its original, we'll call it soul to it, it's intimate, man. Like you have to know what to keep. You have to manipulate the rule set. You have to know the rule sets really, really well. So to pass that knowledge of going to the racetrack, understanding the class, understanding what we need to keep by this rule set that is kind of gray, and knowing that you're going to build something that's still going to pass tech, man, it's tough. And, there's way more time in a steel roof and quarter car that has to use factory pieces than a car that you're starting off with just a body. And I think that that's a lot easier to scale. But even if you look at the Bickles of the world, like they can bang out chassis, bam, 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 then mount the motor, the transmissions, and do all that quickly. But their bottleneck is always mounting the body, doing the tin work, doing the carbon, like all this stuff. So you always reach bottlenecks within that business, and it's just hard to overcome. And I think, especially within, and you say this all the time, Wes, I think I've heard you say this, or it was John Sears, one of you guys, is like drag racing is every man's sport. It's not just, high up people that do this. We're not racing Formula One or NASCAR. This is everyone's sport. Everybody can go to the drag strip on Friday night. So it's you just see a lot more average people that get into the sport that are extreme DIY people. That's how I started. I couldn't afford to pay anybody to do what I wanted to do, so I figured out how to do it on myself. So our mission really for the last 5 years was to not forget where we came from. Remember that we came from a garage and a MIG welder, and then we do want to provide high-end parts for high-end clients, but we also want to provide parts for guys that are in the garage, be able to give them good customer service and help them build this dream on a budget. Everybody has a budget. I don't care who you are. You have that amount of money that you can spend on it. So helping people get the most bang for their buck is huge. And personally, for me, I looked at these cars and I seen the amount of time that I was giving to them. And yeah, we were getting some compensation, but the older that I get, man, the less that I really care about money. I care about my time. My time I will never get back. It is the great exchange. And I wasn't seeing my kids like I wanted to. I wasn't able to hang out with them like I wanted to, and I wasn't able to race like I wanted to. So I seen the things that I wanted to do as a person, and I worked backwards from there. And like, how do we fix our life to be this?
Wow.
And that's what we did. Like my little man, he's 4 years old. He comes to work with me every day. It is awesome. And I could not, I do what I do. Like I'm making YouTube videos, I'm talking to customers, answering emails, doing stuff like that. We have a phenomenal staff. Dave Varner has taken off such a load for me. So like I can hang out with my son some, if he wants to go work on Charlie because he wants to go run his Hot Wheels down it. We have time for that.
It's an amazing thing, man. I mean, because you're so right. And I think that that's even myself as it was always grind, grind, grind. How much can we do? We got to do more. We got to do more. And I find myself as I've gotten older, becoming way more selective about the projects we take on. Is the juice worth the squeeze? I know that I'm not going to get this time back. I mean, I just took my son on a college tour Monday, and it was like my wife and I were driving home with him in the back seat, kind of realizing like, dude, this kid's leaving. He is bouncing. And like 6 months from now, he's probably going to be, moving into a dorm room somewhere, and it may not be nearby. And it just reinforces exactly what you're saying, because I think you make a lot of great points, Jason. Like first and foremost, I've been to all those chassis shops too. And by and large, a lot of those things, they can have bare chassis stacked like firewood in the corner and make, this chassis will fit this set of bodies, so we know that we're close or whatever, and the body mounts may have to be slightly different, but you can streamline some of those processes. But I think there's a reason a lot of those type of like pro mod, let's call it shops, Top Sportsman, Pro Mod, Pro Stock shops, you didn't see them producing a lot of Outlaw 10.5 or X275 cars, because it's just a totally different endeavor. And like that custom shop business, I don't know that you could ever charge enough for the hours that you put into some of those builds to really be fairly compensated for what went into it.
Well, and I think like a lot of times people get upset with like what stuff costs and chassis builders and stuff, but take a look at what those dudes drive, right? Like they're not, and where they live and what they do. They are not living extravagant lives. They are really barely getting by. So like if you have a chassis guy that you use, do not fight the man on the bill. Right. He is not, he has consciously already taken off stuff, because most chassis guys or race car builders, they're creatives. They're people that are artists. They're people that like to have their stuff out there. They want to use these hands and make something cool. They're not good at billing people. They're not good at charging people. They're not good at the
Good at
business stuff.
estimating,
No,
right?
they're
I mean,
not good at any of that,
yeah.
And like that's you have to understand that, like when one of them big art like Van Gogh, when he decided to paint something, did you ask him like, hey man, what's this deal gonna cost? Well, no, you can't, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't think like that. It's just because this is what he wants to do. And a lot of race car builders are the Van Goghs, right? Well, then what you see happening, like take Don Ness, for example. Like Don Ness's cars, if they're in good shape, to this day, I bet that they sell for more than what he charged to build them then. Now, I understand inflation. You could get all this stuff with me. I get it. But like
they definitely
still,
maintain their value. I mean, if you literally go, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like my dad is a big Don Ness guy, and he's had a dozen of them over the years. And it was always a point of pride for him that, like, I remember when I was a little kid hanging out at my dad's shop, probably like your little guy, hanging out at the shop counter, thumbing through National Dragster back then, getting ink all over my hands. I mean, he would literally have me go through the back of Dragster, through the classified section, looking for Ness cars. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he's like, it answers so many questions. Before I call them, I already know the tin works nice. I already know the doors close nice. I know the front end's light and comes on and off easy. I know the fit and finish. I know the welds are nice. I know the car's safe. Like, it just answered a whole bunch of questions that if you were calling on just some unknown brand, you'd have to ask, right?
Yeah.
Like, is this car certified? You know what I mean? Will it certify?
Is it even possible?
Is it even possible? And you didn't have to really wonder about those type of things. Now, granted, rules change over time, but still, you make a really, really good point. And I think that you guys are well on your way. Is that something that is in the back of your mind, Jason, that like you want Tin Soldiers, to have that kind of brand, that marquee value? Like, because I feel like maybe you're already there. I mean, I know that it seems to be something of a status symbol to be associated with your camp at this point in time.
I appreciate it. That's humbling, man. Thank you. I mean, it's always the goal, right? Like I want people could spend their money anywhere. There's a ton of people that make brackets with holes. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're brackets with holes. If you don't know what to do with them, that's the big thing, right? And so we pride ourselves on that. We're good at getting a race car down the track. We're good at, that, and that's what sells our product. And we want to provide that value. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that we won't build a car here or there. I mean, though, it's going to be for us. My buddy Jason Waterman, he was on me the other day. Cheeseburger as the world knows him. He's like, man, you haven't really flexed on him in a while. Like, it's time to, do something, And I think that was really the legacy of racecraft. Like, you look at like the Fiskus Kluger car, the blue Mustang that went fives in the quarter, like that. Like I'm I don't know, man. Like I'm soft. I'm cool to admit it. I'm like a box of Pampers. So yesterday I was just moving stuff, and there was like miscellaneous strips that were on the wall, like Zeus strips, stuff like that. And I seen these ones that had these very distinctive holes and the way that they were done. And I'm like, man, them were a leftover set for the Fiskus Kluger car. The way that they did the floor and how they spaced it up, and it was really trick. And I remember looking at pictures of that car, like, that's a great idea. And then I got to put my hands on these strips. So last night at dinner, I asked Corey, I'm like, am I right? Are those for that car? He's like, yeah. How'd you know that? Like, well, man, I pay attention. Like, I like looking at the Van Goghs of the world and how they, today it was so fun. Like, Pat had took me around the facility, and man, part of this is it's tough because, for the bank side and all this stuff, they want this inventory list, and then it's got to be right and all this stuff. It's,
Right.
We've tried to make this as much of a handshake deal as possible. Right. But then there's just mixed bags of stuff. Like, Pat's like, well, do I give you this? We were joking that we were taking the chalkboards out of the place. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, Pat, if you don't want it, what I mean?
But we'll take them.
Yeah, we'll take them, whatever. I mean, so, and they've really done their best to make us successful. Like, we're acquiring the business this week. Like, funds have exchanged hands. They're still making product
Yeah.
for us to take with us so that we are not out of stock on things, and which we are on a couple because it's unavoidable,
Yeah.
right? But because they care about the customer and they care that that product is out there, and like that's very much how we've tried to base our legacy. When we're older, the cars that we built, the ones that are out there, I want people to fight over them.
Yeah.
I want them to be like, man, I want that. Like because the more that we say no, the more that it makes people like, there's some people get mad. They like, I mean, they get mad, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, I try to be as gracious as I can, and like, but yeah, I want them to fight over the ones that are out there. Because they take so much time, the 10 soldier cars that are out in the world, I want them to mean something and be special, So, yeah.
Thank you for that, because it kind of makes me feel human and made me feel like okay with the fact, because one of the hardest things that we do every winter is whittle down that invitation list. Who are we going to invite? And I take a lot of heat for that, Jason. Like, I get a lot of people like, oh, it should just be come one, come all. Anybody who wants to pay, throw their name in the hat. And it's like, to your point, like, no, I want it to mean something. I want it to mean something to be a part of this. I don't want it to be something that just anybody can have because they had enough money in their pocket to pull it off. I want it to mean something to get that invitation and to get that letter from me that says, hey, we want you. We have chosen you. We want you to be a part of what we're doing. We believe in you. And I've said that from here forth, I won't ever do a race that's not an invitational for that reason, because this stuff is too hard and takes too much time and too much money to have it not mean something. I want it to matter that you were there, because not everybody got to be there. Right. And so thank you for sharing that, because sometimes I feel like, well, Wes, maybe you're just a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, but it's a marketing ploy. It's all these things. It drives value. It does all these things. But above all else, I want it to matter, and much like who ends up with one of your cars, because I'll probably be fighting somebody over Charlie Brown if the good Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise. I'll be fighting somebody over that old girl. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly how you want it.
Yeah, it has to be. One, I think, man, as I got older, I've done a lot of soul searching on that. Like like I'm very vocal that I love Jesus, that I want people to know who he is. I know what he's done in my life, and I want people to have that. But like, if you look at the way that he structured his life, he had his 12, right? And then from that 12, he changed the world. And like, the reality is you don't have enough pieces of yourself to give away to everybody. You just can't. And, sometimes we feel like in life we're this buffet table and everybody's taking what they want of us, and then there's nothing left. Like, I'm a giver. I know that. Like, I love to give away my energy. I love to give away that. Like, I'll give it away until I have nothing left. So I have to put some walls up to be like, man, I can't, and so now I've structured my life to where the people that we have around us, man, I wish the world could feel like we feel. Like, when I made it up in my brain that we were going to buy this company, like, and Brad was like, all right, yeah, I'm good. Like, let's do it. And we have this great partnership. We are 50 people ask that all the time. Like, because we want each other to be equal. Right.
Yeah.
And we've done this for 10 years together, and we've never really yelled at each other. Like, we've had disagreements, right? But like, we love each other. That's we're married.
Yeah.
And if one of us doesn't want to do something, we typically, we may have a interjection of why, but then we come in an agreement and we roll. Well, this was no different. But once I knew, like, we're buying this, there was nothing. I know the people that surround us, nobody's going to let us fail. Like, for me to fail, I would really have to screw it. Like, it would take more energy for me to fail than me to succeed, period. Like, because there's so many good people around me that, like, I feel like I can do anything, brother. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll work it out, you know, like,
We'll
let's
figure
get
it
it.
out. No,
Yeah.
it's so true, man. So true. And we couldn't be happier for you, Jason. Seriously, you, Brad, the whole team, everybody at Racecraft and Tin Soldier. We're proud of you guys and we're cheering you on. And I can't wait to see you this winter down behind the wheel of a hot rod at the three biggest drag races in the history of the universe. And hey, man, congrats, man. Keep doing the Lord's work. We'll bring you on again. Let's touch base because I want to talk about your nonprofit and all the various things you're doing. Keep handing out Bibles at the drag strip. There ain't no shame in that game, brother. There ain't no shame in that game.
Yeah, not that we didn't have enough going on, and then I think we're like up to 3,000 Bibles, which is sweet. So
it's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's good. I want to be with you December 6th, but brother, I don't think I can do the first one because we are eating an elephant, you know, and like,
oh yeah, I feel you, brother.
We felt like we toured it, you know, we did all. Yeah. We keep joking though that Pat keeps finding more sheds, and he's like, you know, he's like, just get out of.
I'll get this stuff too.
Yeah, it's very much that. So I tried to get Pat and Corey to come up here and get on here, but like I said, they're very, you know, like. But I just want to publicly thank them again. If you've bought Racecar or Racecraft parts and you know those guys, please tell them thank you. Like, they make awesome stuff and they've serviced this industry for so many years. Please tell them thank you. Like, please. So, and you know, now this is bittersweet, right? Like, it's a load off of them. They get to go concentrate on some of the other stuff, but like, yeah, please tell them thank you. That would mean a lot to us and to them. You know?
Well, I'm here to tell those guys, Pat and the whole family, thank you on behalf of Drag Illustrated. They were one of our earliest advertisers. Awesome. Now I'm gonna have to beat your door down. It's like, hey, we need a 10 soldier full page ad in that old girl every issue.
I definitely owe you at this point. You know what I mean? So I gotta get a few of these chips that we put in the middle back, and then
don't worry, that day will come, brother. But no, those guys, I remember every month getting the artwork from them because I think we started out like whenever we launched Drag Illustrated print, there were some message boards, but there weren't really any websites. There weren't blogs. There weren't all these digital things, podcasts, all this stuff that exists now. There was none of that. So like the way to get the message out was via print. And they supported us early on for a long, long time. They were relatively nearby. I grew up in Missouri, so Minnesota was like a hop, skip, and a jump away. And anyways, grateful to those guys, proud of what they've done and happy to see their legacy continue. Jason, thank you so much for the time. Get your butt back to work.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother. It's always a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Terrell. Appreciate you, dog.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great night.
You too, buddy.
Hey, if you're bored, you know, hop on the plane. We can.
I was just thinking we might need to round up the crew and head to Minnesota and start helping. Get our hands dirty. Appreciate you, buddy.
The Oregon Trail out here. You know what I mean?
Be safe. Don't work too hard.
All right, buddy. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I do want to take a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of Redline synthetic oils, formulated to win, proven by you. We're talking about a brand trusted by the best in the business. Ty Tutterow, Steve Torrance, Callie Mills, Spencer Hyde, Scott Palmer, Tommy Franklin, Sean Reed. The list goes on. These aren't just weekend warriors. These are champions, killers, and contenders who rely on Redline to get it done. Formulated to win, proven by racers like you. Log on to redlineoil.com to check out their full product lineup. I saw Mark Beatty in the comments. I think we're going to have Mark on the show next Wednesday. I'm excited about that. We have 2 special guests for next Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. We got some more news that is going to be coming out, some big time NHRA drag racing news that we're going to drop next Wednesday. So excited about that. And I think we're going to have Mark on the show as well. What do we got next, boys? JT, Mike, you kind of disappeared on me there. You vanished. Were you just giving me some space? It felt like.
Yeah, we were. You know, you and JT, the other JT.
JT's grinning in the green room. He won't even pop back on the show. I can see him smiling. Nobody else can see the view that I can see, but I can see JT's smiling face. Oh, now I'm getting some gang signs or something. I don't know what that was. I'm not going to.
But baby, let's our next guest. He was due. We had him on a few weeks ago with technical difficulties, but now he's gone and made it even it
looks like he's checking in maybe from like NASA or something. It looks like a really, really nice office.
He's ready.
Ladies and gentlemen,
he said he's going to have his phone tuned up this time.
Oh, good deal. He's got that Shannon Jenkins tune-up in it, as I call.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the one, the only, Travis, the Carolina Kid, Harvey.
Going
What's
on?
up? Swinging and ducking, boss, man. Incredible weekend for you down at No Mercy 16. It seems like every time there's a big drag race, we're talking about Travis Harvey. Take us through the weekend. We were lucky enough to get to chat with Ken Quartuccio earlier in the show, and he was pretty open and honest, Travis, that you're one of the drivers that he looks up to, and he feels like you gave him all that he could handle and then some there in the final round, but lost the engine down track. I'm sure that was a tough pill to swallow after the run you were on. But by all accounts, my friend, an extremely successful weekend, and you really kind of throwing your hat into the ring is the best to ever do it right now, Travis. I mean, take us through the success of your RVW campaign this weekend with Tommy Humans Racing.
Just thank you guys for having me on. I know the last time we was here, we was having problems, but Tommy called me up a couple weeks ago. Well, a few months ago, and we was talking about driving the car in Texas, and he said that he wanted to go and run RVW, and he asked me would I drive, and because Lyle wasn't available. So I told him I would do it, and that was the second time actually going to a Ducks race. This year was the first time I ever been there, and we had great success with it with Justin's car early in the year, and came back to run RVW. And first time out, we didn't do any testing with it, and I think Lee made 2 passes after Rockingham, and he saw what he liked, so he put it in the trailer, and I headed there Wednesday, and off the trailer we went number 2 at a 59, and it was just a great weekend. It started out great, it kind of ended not too good, but it was a pretty successful weekend for us.
I mean, you have to do that, though. You have to run those things that hard to be successful. I think that's a thing that's maybe slept on a little bit, is that's you guys are laying it on the line. Like, I think that it says a lot when your team owner's willing to go through that. And then he's also willing to put the best drivers. We opened the show talking about this today. Oh, Travis doing it to us again.
Oh no. Text message came through. Guaranteed text.
Travis is one of the best drivers out there. Lyle Barnett, Marcus Burt is another who Tommy Humans has had in his car. And like we were talking about, Tommy is a racer himself and races the Judge GTO. I mean, he could easily drive one of these cars himself if he wanted to, but he insists on putting the best drivers behind the wheel. When we get Travis back, we'll have to ask him about that.
I'm going to see if he can't come back here. I'm sending him a text right now. JT's probably sending him a text as well.
He was totally, he was in the green room for like 15 minutes. All good.
Well, he was early.
Next time we get him, we just got to go right to him. Sorry, whoever's on. We got to get Travis right now.
We got to jump to Travis immediately. But no, I mean, he's had like a hell of it. Was it last September that he scored his first NHRA Pro Mod victory in Charlotte?
Yeah, he subbed in for, I believe, Khalid Al-Balushi. Or was it? It was one of the Bahrain cars.
Yeah, and he subs in, wins the race, and it was like, those of us that were like hardcores have been well aware of Travis Harvey for a hot minute, right? Like
we've been following
a long.
We talked about that. We raced against Travis Harvey in Pro Mod. I think he was just getting his feet wet in. I think he was running Top Sportsman, and he was like sort of like those quick 8 races back in the day were, the guys that were looking to make that move. You didn't have to go out on NHRA or national event level. The quick 8s provided a great platform for that, and he's been. Ever since he made that transition, he's been a threat. Are you back now, Travis? We got you.
I have no clue what's wrong. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, but
no, you're good, man. We were just while we got you. We were just talking about, these guys throwing their hats in the ring as some of the best drivers out there. We were talking about Tommy Humans putting you, Lyle, Marcus Burt before that. Like, he's a racer himself, but he insists on putting what everyone would say are the top drivers out there, like yourself, in a car. We don't see a lot of that. Like, what is it about Tommy or his program or just the field in general that is pushing things toward that, which we think is actually a good thing?
Well, I think Tommy just loved racing, and he probably would have more cars out there if he could. But I mean, I know he's got a few more, and I think Lee even acknowledged that he would run as many as he wanted, but Lee kind of keeps him on a tight rope there, so he won't run all the cars he got.
Well, I think it's we're seeing the sport kind of evolve, and I think that it's these big events that pay good money, that generate a ton of eyeballs and publicity. I think there's more and more pressure on the people that own these cars to make sure that whoever's behind the wheel isn't the weak link, right? Like you want to make sure that you're giving yourself, you're buying the latest, greatest equipment. You're buying the best parts and pieces money can buy. You're hiring the best tuners. But then, you're, hanging out and flying, jumping in behind the wheel of the car. And are you the best guy to drive it? Maybe, maybe not. And I think it's great for our sport to see guys like yourself and a lot of the other kind of well-known hired gun drivers. Mike mentioned Marcus Burt, Lyle Barnett, and there are others that have gotten themselves into a position where they can be the one who has their phone ring. I'm curious, do you feel like when you look back at your career and all that you've accomplished driving a race car, Travis, like do you feel like there are decisions you've made or things you've learned along the way that have put you in a position? I mean, we heard Ken Quartuccio earlier in the show talking about you're easy to get along with, easy to talk to, humble, soft-spoken. Those are personality traits. But like from a professional perspective, are there any things that you have learned that you feel have kind of gotten you to the point where, is it respecting people's equipment? Is it being willing to work with what are the things that you feel have kind of fueled this progression for you where you're the guy people call?
Well, I just try to stay in my lane. I try to respect everybody's equipment. Like if something I can tell if something's wrong, I'm not going to push it to the limit to tear it up. I'm not going to do something that I know that I shouldn't do. And I try to just drive, not go over there and get in the way I'm very helpful, but
right.
I know I'm not a tuner, so I don't try to tell them what's going on and what should be done and all this stuff like that. So I just try to do my job, take care of the car. And I think that's why people call me up, because they know that I'm not going to, just tear up their stuff just to try to get a win light.
Do you think that all your experience, like you'll be in a nitrous big dog car on a Thursday night, and you're in a screw blown Radial versus the World car on the weekend, and we've seen you, behind the wheel NHRA Pro Mod quarter mile top dragster, whatever. Do you think that it's the cumulative effect of your experience that's getting you to this point, or do you think sometimes that you would rather have like a full-time ride all year where you're running the same car, same combination every weekend?
I mean, it's kind of overwhelming. I mean, I do have full-time rides. We have our own stuff, but we had a few mishaps this year. So it's a lot of people that call me up a lot, but I cannot drive. I have to tell them no. Some people I tell no. Some people I offer to help them. But I mean, it's good to stay in one car. I think I would be better in one car, making more laps. But I've driven a lot of different type of cars, and I just have the feel for them. So if I have a few laps in it, I feel like I'm at home. It really don't matter if I haven't made 100 laps in this car or 10 in the other. I feel like I can still get the job done.
Do you ever have moments where you're like, where, I mean, maybe you don't want to admit it, but you're human, where you catch yourself like, you need a couple qualifying laps or a test run or something to just get yourself acclimated to that car, where the button switches, the different feel of it? Or is it pretty much you jump right in and go?
I mean, I just get right in. Some of the cars that I drive now, the fast stuff, they're pretty laid out, pretty much the same. You might have a few buttons or the parachute's different in a different location, but they all, kind of similar pro mods. But I try to get in it as long as I can figure out where I'm at on a tree and make sure I'm good there. If I need to do something different on a button to have my reaction time right, I'm good. I don't have any issues with them.
It's pretty amazing, man. Because
it's wild to hear you
it's
say
wild,
that,
dude. I have a dear friend who literally made the switch from a turbo car to a blower car, and it took him all of a year, an entire season, to like tell me that he felt comfortable in it. And then I think about you bouncing in one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, different people, you're seeing different faces. I mean, I'm curious, like, is that at all a challenge? Because a lot of the teams that I've seen be successful have a lot of the same faces. If you go through the annals of drag racing history, I think one of the things, if you had to identify like common and traits amongst the successful teams, it'd be like the guys that have a team that have worked together for a long time. A lot of people that are very familiar with one another. You know, they know each other's expressions. They know they know the ritual. They know the routine. Everybody knows their individual contribution or role. Is it at all? I mean, what kind of challenge is it just acclimating yourself to this new group of people? Like one weekend you're hanging out with Corey Swanstrom and Justin Swanstrom, right? And it's music playing and wild and crazy. And then the next weekend you may be racing for Tommy Humans, or you may be racing, your what's the flat gray car? The car you race in the winter. Von Miles' car. You know, like these different atmospheres. I mean, because I would imagine that's as hard as anything.
Yeah, it is. It's sometimes a struggle because I stay to myself a lot. I'm very nonchalant. I don't really get in the way or, loud and all this stuff. So like when you're in Justin's pits, it's a little different atmosphere versus Tommy's, but I get along great with everybody. I mean, I've known Lee White for a while and different guys, but I don't have any issues with anybody. I mean, I enjoy the racing part of it. I just want to, whatever it takes to win, we'll get it done.
Being that chameleon, though, I think that's what makes you able to adapt. I mean, a lot of people would come in like, I'm Travis Harvey. You got to do it this way. We're going to change this. We're going to change that. And I think that people would be surprised, or, I mean, at this point, maybe not surprised that probably is key to your success, is being able to come in and be so adaptable.
Well, you'd be surprised. Some of the cars that I drive, I'm amazed, like, how does it go down a racetrack? Because like the steering wheel's cocked, one way. Yeah. And like I go back and tell them like the steering's off or something like this. How long have it been that way? But I guess some people don't really realize what's going on or something like that. But I try to give my input to help out some of the racers. Some stuff I just get in and runs good, but some stuff is junk. You have to figure it out and make it work.
Because, I mean, that's a valuable, I would say, I remember back in the day, Mike, you remember this, when you build a new Pro Mod, you roll that bad boy out, and pretty much the first call you make is to Ricky Smith. And Ricky's going to come shake that thing down for you. You ain't going to drive it. He's going to drive it. But there was a lot of value in that, right? Because if he could shoehorn himself in there, when he got out and he was done, whether you spent a day together or two, he was able to leverage all that experience that he had and say, hey, this thing goes straight. It's going to react to what we do. Here's a 4-link setting that is going to work and be, we're going to have the car where it needs to be to adapt to changes. I mean, I think it's
like eliminating a variable. Yes, I think is what you're doing. Like I think what Travis does is eliminate driver variable. You know what you're going to get. There's nothing he's going to do to throw the tune-up off or to get you started down a path that if you put someone else in, he's like that neutral driver that you can set up around. And I think that is kind of what Ricky's deal was back in the day too, as far as setting the car up to be neutral. Like everything about it is right. Now you just need to get your tune up and get the power and get your clutch back in the day. Right. But yeah, it's kind of the same concept.
Yeah. A lot of people, I've been doing this for a long time. This is going on 30 years for me. I've been driving. A lot of people think I just started not long ago, but I've learned a lot over the years, starting out with Russ Farmer at Racetech Race Cars. He built a lot of chassis and, specialized in dragsters, but we did a lot of stuff in the roadsters and door cars. So I was kind of the test dummy doing that stuff for him. And I've learned a lot over the years, racing with him, and that's kind of got me where I started, where I'm at today.
That's what we were talking about when you left just a second ago, where, we've known about you in this area for a long time, working your way up. And then that Carolina Blue 68 Camaro race tech car that you were, I don't know what you were running full time with it, but you would come dabble in the quick eights at Farmington, Mooresville, Piedmont back in the day and start working your way up from there. And then that's where you really, I can remember racing against you those first couple times at Farmington. We were like, this guy's going to be a handful right here. Like, you knew, even though it was your first experience, like in a full blown pro mod or whatever, and maybe it wasn't, qualifying number one at that time, just the driver aspect of it. You're like, this is a guy you're going to have to look out for. And you had to be on your game at that point. And that was probably, 2007, 8, something like that. So it's really, 20 years at this point. I think you've been doing pro mod at the highest level.
But I was joking that I think some people thought after your NHRA win last year, like, where'd this guy come from?
Yeah,
who's this guy?
Yeah.
And we're like, hey man, we've known about the Carolina kid for a long time in the door slammer world. But it was great to see you get that moment in the sun, and I'm glad to see it continuing. How hard is it? Like, is it easy to bounce back from a Saturday night like you had in South Georgia because you did your job as a driver, even though the win light didn't come on in your lane? You still did a hell of a job throughout the weekend. We're killer in the final round, but the car just didn't make the trip. I mean, is it easy to brush that off and go on to the next one?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we kind of expected it. From round 2, we had a mechanical failure. We dropped a valve. I think a keeper broke or something. And so after that, we had to put a head on, put a sleeve in, put a piston rod in. Came back to round 3, had a lifter go bad, so I wiped the cam out. So going into the final round with Ken, we was expecting it not to make it. I mean, it was on 7.5 cylinders pretty much the whole way, and I was expecting it to blow up. So, I mean, we lost by 0.006 of a second, so I can't hold my head down. All the guys worked very hard to get us to the finals. I mean, we worked head-to-heads off the blower off every round, so it was tough to even make it there. So I'm just blessed to even be in the final with Ken. I mean, Ken's a great racer. He's been beating me up lately, but I'll get him back in the Winter Series, I hope.
There we go. He was talking about that. He was our first guest of the day, and he was talking about how you guys were hurt, and he was like, we could run this tomorrow, but to your team's credit and Tommy Humans, they were like, no, we're running this tonight, no matter what condition we're in. And he was talking about a little bit of the strategy that he was using against you, knowing that you were likely hurt and likely wouldn't make the full trip. So it was really interesting to hear him say that, and then now hear your perspective. And like I told him, these are 2 guys between yourself and Ken. These are the last 2 guys that you really want to line up against right now in RVW, Pro Mod, whatever, door slammer racing at the highest level. I'd say that most people would put you and Ken in the same top tier as far as drivers right now.
And what's interesting a lot of times is that because it's the car, but I think it's cool because what you guys have done and what you've accomplished collectively is that it doesn't matter what you're driving. We don't want to race him. And that's special because a lot of times the guys that are feared are oftentimes feared because of that car they're behind the wheel of, and people know what it's capable of. But you guys have kind of found a way to fly over that.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes like we got a race this weekend. I got to go with Justin to Carolina Dragway, House of Hook, to run a grudge race. And I think they want to run for a lot of money if Justin would drive, but they don't want to run for a lot if I drive. It's not because of the driver, really. It's because of the weight, probably. But, I mean, you get that a lot. Like if some guys lock in a race, then I get in there, get in the seat. I think we did it with Mario's car, the pressure car early this year. He called me up, and it was they thought another driver was going to drive, but I ended up driving, and it just changed the game a little bit, just a little bit, playing a little chess there. And it helps some, but it kind of hurts me because every time I get up beside somebody, they give me their best shot. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I got to be on my game every time I get beside someone because I feel like they're always going to give me their best. So it's tough.
Man, it's playing the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it's playing the New York Yankees. We actually had a great article Josh Hatchett wrote for Drag Illustrated several years ago now, but it was called Racing Out Front, right? And how different it is no matter where you're at in the deal, whether you're a crew chief, whether you're a driver, there's a distinctly different pressure that comes from being the guy or gal who has a target on their back. Because to your point, they're going up there to rip your heart out. They know they've got to do their best. This has got to be their best light of the day when they're racing Travis Harvey. And I can imagine that is tiresome. And there are times where it's like, oh my gosh, can I get up for another haymaker for 4 or 5 rounds in a row? I mean, I think it's a testament to what you've accomplished, man, that you're able to function in that environment, because I know there are those of us that, would grow very weary of it.
Yeah, I have great equipment I've been driving this year. I mean, Tommy Yeoman's giving me the best car, Radio versus the World, first time out, we ran good, qualified number 1. Even in no time stuff, it's a great car. And other cars I drive, like in Texas, I feel like we had the car to beat. But I was there driving it, and I was thinking like, only way we're gonna lose this race if I f this up, if I screw it up, and pretty much I almost did it first round against Jordan Lasik. He like crushed me on the tree, but the car pulled me through. I mean that car Elvira it's really the car. It's not me. I mean I just drive it. I mean that thing's awesome.
Clearly bad to the bone. Lyle Barnett said earlier this year, undoubtedly the baddest 275 car on the planet Earth. And we're seeing that play out right now. I mean, we've seen some great races, and I think you're obviously being involved as intimately as you and Lance and all the various things you've done promoting your own races in the no time space. What do you make of one thing Justin Swanstrom did at Swanfest that I thought was cool was put some weight on the Pro Mod style cars to try to narrow the gap between the steel roof and quarters cars that we have kind of come to known as no time cars. Do you think that like what was your take on that, and do you feel like that is because that was one of the things I heard the whole time I was at Big Jake's, is that there would be more cars here if the Pro Mods weren't here. But I don't know, Mike and I talk about this a lot, sometimes it's hard to put the rabbit back in the hat. Like once it's happened, I don't know how you go backwards. But what's your stance on that whole situation when it comes to, no time 275?
Well, Lance and I, we had a few big money races this year, and back in March, we had a weight limit on our cars.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was 2,550 or 2,600 or something like that. So we actually did it a couple of times, and a few of the guys said they didn't want to do it. Then they was okay with it, but I think that's the only way it's going to live, because you have pro mods in, and you really can't take them back out because there's so many out there now. So you got to figure out a way to keep it all even. I think Justin's race was probably the race that had the tightest competition in each round. I mean, it was really close racing, and I really feel like if Big Jake should do it, because it's going to help gain more cars. You don't have to have a badass pro mod. You could have an older car and have a great power plant combo, and you can compete with all the newest style stuff, even with a weight.
I think it's going to be important because it feels like it's hot as fire. Like this scene, this part of drag racing is popular. People love it. I mean, it can't get enough of it, even with the scoreboards often, or even with all the the drama and whatnot that sometimes comes with it. People love this brand of drag racing, and I think we need to be doing. But I know that racers, by and large, and oftentimes fans, they hear the word rules or weights and they get sideways about it. I mean, we hear it all the time, like, oh, you should just let it be no rules, run what you brung. But history tells us that doesn't work, right? And if you can keep it where a guy's got a shot, even if they don't have a state-of-the-art brand new race car, I just think your odds of success are massively increased.
Yeah. And I think we are going to allow class cars. It still would be no time, but we'll have some class cars, because in our area, we have a lot of guys that run Pro 275. So they don't have any places to race unless they go to the Radial Tire Racing Association or whatever 3 or 4 or 5 times a year. So they're looking for places to go race. I know Brad Edwards, Ziff Hudson, all them guys run Pro 275. Brian McGee, they need other places to race, but like you can't if you show time, you can't run in that series. So we're going to allow that. We did years ago, and we had success with it. And we just want to, help some of these racers around here. And it probably won't be any big money stuff like the 100K, because I think that I think it hurts it sometimes and it helps. I think it's good to have 3 or 4 a year, not have 8 or 10.
Yeah.
So we're just going to get back to our roots and just do some small stuff and see how that goes.
We talk about it a lot, but the purse thing is such a polarizing conversation, because I know that like everybody wants to race for $1 gazillion every time. Right. But I think the reality is that it's something of a race to the bottom. If every race's individual significance is tied directly to how much it pays to win, that's a problem. Right.
Yeah,
because
it's too many of them. And then you start leapfrogging. And then 100,000, what used to be a big payout now is not. Now it's got to be 200. Now it's going to be 300, whatever the case is. And it's not special anymore. So it's another thing where the genie is hard to put back in the bottle. And you got to be really careful with that too. Every small bit you increase that purse, it's like you can't go backward.
Yeah, like one of the coolest things I ever saw in drag racing was when Jason Rucker, Tyler Crossnow, I believe Tommy Kundrick, the handful of guys that were involved in creating limited drag radial, right? Which was like supposed to be a throwback to like RVW's glory days, the original days of like drag radial. And while I don't love limited in the name of anything, I did appreciate that they said we're never going to race for more than like $5,000. And I know it's gone beyond that now, but that kept the class healthy for a long time because it didn't see some big money team owner come in and say, hey, we're going to go after this big money. You know, it kept that out of it and kind of gave it time to get its legs, to develop, you know, a participant base that would allow it to grow into the future. And it's such a tough thing, man. And I actually, you know, applaud you guys, Travis, and you and Lance. We've loved Lance for 100 years, it seems like, but like you guys are doing the Lord's work out there. And I think that that's a smart play to kind of to buck the trend, because I think the natural reaction would be like, all right, Justin paid 100. We need to pay 150. They paid 150. We need to pay 200. And it's a race to the bottom. It's not sustainable long-term. And some of us have got to, like, you know, put our, you know, big boy hats on and say, hey, what's best for the long-term here? And I think that you guys are definitely headed that direction, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
It's
a lot of our grassroots, you know, the local guys, because like when you pay 10, 20 grand, there's none of the locals or the Saturday night guys that want to come because they feel like Justin Swanson's going to be there or Lyle Barnett. So we lost a lot more than we gained. So we pretty much got to go back to what was working before.
No, 100%, man. I think it makes sense. And let us know how we can help, because NT, the Carolina No Time, I got my shirt in the closet, man. I rock that baby blue one. I got a Carolina blue one just because I got to support the Carolina kit, you know, and I rock that bad boy all the time. So no, we're big fans of what you guys do, and we're happy to help any way that we can. Travis, thank you for making some time for us on a Wednesday afternoon. I can't wait to see you. You said you're headed to the House of Hook, Carolina Dragway this weekend, and then all sights set on Bradenton, Florida for the big one, the Winter Series kickoff.
We will be there.
Bet, man. Well, hey, good luck and be safe this weekend, and we'll talk soon. Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you,
Travis Harvey.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, guys. What a deal, man.
Before we wrap up,
yeah,
man, before we wrap up, we were talking about Big Dog. I got a note here from our friend Jason Manger, who is a crew guy on Barry Mitchell's car, who Todd Tutterow actually has been driving this year in Big Dog, who won the championship. They overcame a 7-point deficit to Scott Lang and won the Big Dog championship by 4 points. I think that I'd have to go back and look. I think he ended up racing Scott Lang in the finals. I think that determined it, and set a new track record, 3.600 at 209.79. So we're almost into the 50s at over 210 at Piedmont Dragway in Big Dog, which if you've never been there and seen that on a Thursday night, Corey Stamper keeps us up to date with those videos when he goes every event, and you just see these cars. I mean, it's unreal. It's still unbelievable to see that kind of performance at that track.
What were they running during it was like low fours, wasn't it? Whenever like the Big Dog, the North versus South shootout in like 2005.
Oh man, no, that would have been no. I think they were running like, I could be wrong, 420s maybe, something like that. I think was the big deal, but the rules were way different. It was still much more of a street car. It was like a street car.
DOT tire had to have mufflers. Yeah. But
still, now it's full blown pro mod. And so it's really cool. And also shout out to Melissa Merritt. Got a note earlier this week. Huge fan. Her and her husband crew with Tim Dutton. Another guy who's making a big splash here in pro mod, and I want to give them a shout out too. So today's shout out day.
Hey, let me think of who. My son got accepted to his first college. I'm not going to name names yet, but I am going to. He got his letter last night. So shout out to my little boy Maxwell. He's not so little. He actually towers over me. JT, did any of your family get in legal trouble this week? Should we shout them out?
Well, I did have an accident Saturday night, and on the way there, somebody rolled their side by side in the field next to my house, and 5 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and a chest tube later. She's home.
Light day. Oh, she's home.
She's home.
She's in the middle, man.
I was just joking.
Between 2 guys, but yeah.
Oh, that is hilarious. I was just joking, but of course you have a story. Well, hey, thank you guys all so much for joining us. Remember, if you got anything out of this today, JT, Mike, and I would personally appreciate it if you click that subscribe button. We want to grow this family, help us spread the gospel of drag racing, and we'll see you right here next Wednesday on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Huge shout out to all of our sponsors, and of course, Ken Quartuccio, Jason Terrell, and Travis Harvey for spending their afternoon with us.
Great guest today.
Yeah, great shows, man. Great guest. Great guest. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Later.
See you
later.